Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into how we remember World War II's end. We've got a couple of interesting sources.
That's right. We're looking at a recent social media post from Donald J. Trump about Victory Day and also some historical messages from Franklin D. Roosevelt to Stalin.
Right. And the goal here is really to unpack these, see the different takes on Victory Day, and, understand the context.
Exactly. How history is remembered, the alliances back then. It's fascinating to compare.
Okay, so let's start with the social media post. Trump mentions May 8th, Victory Day for many allies.
Uh-huh. But then he makes a pretty big claim.
He does. He says the U.S. did more than any other country by far to win World War II.
That's a very strong assertion. And he doesn't stop there, does he?
No, he actually renames the days. May 8th becomes a Victory Day for World War II, and November 11th, Victory Day for World War I.
So sort of rebranding these historical markers with a very specific emphasis.
And he doubles down, saying the U.S. won both wars, unmatched in strength, bravery, or military brilliance.
It's a narrative focused squarely on American exceptionalism and, well, dominance in these conflicts.
He also adds a thought on today, suggesting the U.S. doesn't celebrate victories anymore because of poor leadership.
And declares his intention to change that, to start celebrating our victories again.
It's quite the statement. Now let's shift gears. Let's look at FDR's perspective from his communications with Stalin during the war.
Yes, this offers a quite a different viewpoint, particularly regarding allies.
Definitely. There's a quote from a 1942 fireside chat FDR sent to Stalin. He calls the Soviet counteroffensive the most important event on the European front that year.
Think about that. He explicitly points to the Great Russian Army and their impact. He even quantified it, didn't he?
He did. So the Soviets destroyed more enemy men, planes, tanks, and guns than all other United Nations combined.
That's a huge acknowledgement of the Soviet contribution and sacrifice, especially on the Eastern Front, a brutal theater of war.
Then there's a 1943 letter about Stalingrad. FDR congratulates Stalin on the brilliant victory.
He calls it an epic struggle, something that glorified the Soviet name. He really emphasizes the significance of that battle.
And he notes its impact back home, saying, Americans celebrated it, saw it as this massive turning point against the Nazis.
And Roosevelt also pointed to the collective nature of the effort, right? Soldiers, workers.
Yes, exactly. He talked about the frontline troops, but also the factory workers, the farmers, everyone playing a part. A very different feel.
It is. And later in 43, another letter praises the Red Army's qualities.
Right. Skilled leadership, solid organization, proper training, and crucially, their determination to defeat the enemy regardless of its own sacrifices.
A profound respect for their resolve and effectiveness.
And FDR concludes quite clearly that the Red Army and the Russian people had basically put Hitler on the road to defeat and earned American admiration.
So putting these side by side, the contrast is pretty stark, isn't it?
It really is. You have one perspective heavily stressing singular American achievement, and the other, from a wartime president, strongly highlighting the vital role of a key ally.
It makes you think about why these narratives differ. Different times, different audiences, perhaps different political goals shaping how the story is told.
Absolutely. It shows that celebrating victory in something as vast and devastating as World War II isn't simple. Multiple nations made immense contributions and suffered terrible losses.
And how we choose to remember which parts we emphasize, well, that changes. Historical narratives evolve.
So here's something for you, the listener, to mull over. When leaders or nations talk about huge historical events like this, how do they frame it? And what might be driving those choices and how they tell the story?
It reminds us that history isn't just facts on a page. It's also about the stories we tell ourselves and who gets to tell them.
Oh.
Something to keep in mind.